What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Lamonts G Custom Live Show, the number 3 podcast. Hope everybody's doing good. Hope all is well. Something interesting happened yesterday. I can't remember what I was doing. I think I was trying to get some business done, and I saw, and then now this is in my yard, a rare red-crested woodpecker. I think there's 2 or 3 types that's native to the state of Alabama, and this is not the yellow hammer. It's not our state bird. But the thing was just weird looking. It looked like Woody Woodpecker, but with a crest, with a red fluff crest, and red and white and black breasts. Oh, it was just a beautiful, beautiful sight. He was tapping on my maple tree, and when I went outside, I think the UPS man or somebody had left something in, and I went outside, and right there, well, actually, I saw a shadow like a plane. And I was like, so I went out there and I peeked. There's no leaves on the trees now, so I just saw this huge, huge bird, man, and it actually landed on a pecan tree. And here's this massive bird with talons, and I'm assuming it was a hawk. It was just huge. It made the typical hawk sound, "Arr, arr." It was awesome, man. I'm a nerd. I'm a freak when it comes to nature. I'm a nerd. I'm a nature freak. I love stuff like that. That's why I had planned to go to Cherokee, North Carolina, home of my mother's mother, my grandmother, God rest her soul, in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, in a few days with my kids. And I was hoping to have my kids and my grandkids and just the whole family. We all ride up there to Cherokee, North Carolina, but people couldn't get away from work, couldn't get away from obligations, so that fell through. And I'm gonna talk today about something that I'm not real knowledgeable on. So I don't have a monologue, so I'm gonna try to set this up best as I can. So I listened to a podcast on the Blaze Network. If you're from Alabama, you should know this name. His name is Rick Burgess. He has a radio show, and then he has a podcast. And his podcast deals with the supernatural, demons, that type of thing. And every time I watch one of his podcasts, he pretty much has a deep dive off into the certain subject. It's not always about demons, it's about the the supernatural, things that we can't see that also takes hold of, some of us human beings, blood sacrifices, that type of thing. And I had a podcast not too long ago that I gave some illustrations on some things with my grandmother and my auntie. Did they come back to me in a ghost form? Were they real? Did I imagine it? Well, this is a different topic. Mr. Burgess and his guests were referencing the 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 trans people who have committed mass murders over the past 3 4 years, and they were linking it together that these people are demonic. But how did the demonic energy enter these people? Were they sacrificed? Who opened the door? How was the door open? And boy, I was intrigued. I was intrigued, man, with that conversation. And I'm gonna tell you why. I've always been a horror movie fan. The horror movies I love is like Jason and Michael Myers and Freddy Krueger. But since I met my second wife, she was into the paranormal. She was into the Conjuring, where demons will enter somewhat of a portal into a person's mind, a person's body. And like I said earlier, I'm not super educated on this type of thing. I listen to podcasts and I watch a movie or two here. For some reason, it's hard for me to watch those type of movies, The Conjuring, and the movies of that nature. I watch them to please my wife or whatever, but I'm just not into those. I'm into the more of the fictional type. Freddy, getting in these kids' dreams and killing them, and Michael Myers, escaping a mental institution to kill his family. Listening to the conversation between Mr. Burgess and his guest, and I thought about something as I'm listening. I want to say Nicki Minaj. She's in the news now. She's joined the MAGA movement. Thank God. And she blatantly says, people that were in the life that she was in, the music industry, the Hollywood, that industry, that these people will have to make blood sacrifices. They have to sacrifice children. And my mind is going round and round. I'm like, is this why they support abortion so much? Could it be? Not knowing if Nicki Minaj knows the full playbook, but there's people out there who know the full playbook, and they have been silenced. They have been put to death in many cases. But an inquiring mind wants to know what opens the door for these people to be so demonic. If you're sacrificing children, if you're sacrificing animals, anything, you know, that just some just very creepy about that. So going back to the conversation, and they referenced, I want to say anywhere between 8 to 13, 14 different occasions where, and it's more than that, I want to say, where these trans individuals, which to be trans, you have to have mental issues. Now, one thing that's an issue is most of these, especially these ones that's in their 20s, early 20s now, teen or late teens, early 20s, they were mutilated as children. So they don't know what to think. Their minds, even at 20, is not fully developed. So yeah, they have mental issues. Did they have the mental issues before they was transformed by these adult doctors and in some cases parents? I don't know. But in my opinion, for them, now like I said, I'm not educated on this type of thing, but in my opinion, that's possibly when the door was open for these individuals. when they was transitioning, when they had to take chemicals and medications that they shouldn't be on, shouldn't have to be taken. And that demonic energy entered these individuals, and their number one thing was to kill. You take the guy who murdered Charlie Kirk, you know, to my understanding, this guy was brought up in a conservative household. He got indoctrinated in college and had a trans lover, whatever the case may be, just gay lover. And Charlie Kirk talked against that type of lifestyle. He felt the need. He needed to kill him. So when you hear these people say that these people are dangerous, it's true. They are dangerous. When you hear that these people are demonic energy has entered these people. And I'm gonna be honest with you, man. That's why I'll tell you quick. I don't want to be around these people. I don't want to be near these people. And not just the people who have allowed that demonic energy to enter their minds, their bodies, but in my opinion, a lot of people who consider themselves liberal, democratic, um, progressive, they have allowed that demonic energy to enter them because there's no other way that you can explain their behavior. You just can't. It's all demonic. So, yeah, I wanted to do a little reading, a little studying before I even talked about this because this conversation needs to be had on a higher scale. You have this one guy, Rick Burgess, who has a podcast, and I look on this, how many people liked it, how many people viewed it, how many people liked it, how many people commented, and I think at the time that I watched his last podcast, it was like 43 people. And he had put it out days, before. I'm like, wow, this is something that we really need to be having conversations on. And just got 43 people. Now, I can't remember how many people actually viewed it, but the likes were only like 43. And I thought that was crazy. Not to get off topic, let me just mention this real quick. So I got an analysis report from my Twitter platform, X platform, and a very good friend of mine I've been friends with on Twitter for years, man, close to 20 years. How long Twitter's been in existence, and she puts up very provocative content. Um, in no way, shape, or form is she's into pornographic material or anything like that. She doesn't. She shows you the beauty of the female body, um, almost like an exhibitionist, kind of, sort of. But she does nothing that's nasty, that's degrading, or that's just not Christian. She doesn't do anything like that. Um, she just shows you the beautiful curves and size of the female body. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And we've been friends for a long time. The reason I mention her, she constantly gets the same amount of likes, the same amount of views, the same amount of interactions, comments, etc. And she's happy with it. I think, she averaged, 477 type of, I'm sorry. She averaged like 1,200 interactions or views and, like 477 type, somebody put a heart on her or a smiley face, etc., or an emoji on her content. And as I'm viewing my analysis, I'm like, it goes up, which I'm excited about. But I'm like, who are these people that's having interactions with my content? And number one is all female, which the type of content that I produce, mainly talking about political things, religious things. When I look at these people's profile pictures, I'm like, these are the type of people that would be interested in my talk. But what do I know? So she had told me that many of the entities on the platform that will interact with your material, with your content, are bots. Um, and it is what it is. I would rather have real people consuming my content, listen to my conversations than bots. But listen, I don't control the internet. I don't control any of these platforms. So it is what it is. But it was interesting that she told me that. Um, so, but getting back to the demonic thing, without deep diving off into all these situations where these trans individuals have shot up schools, shot up churches, killed Charlie Kirk, etc., etc. Um, that's something that we have to talk about. We have to conversate about. We really do. Hopefully, I can get with a couple of people who have a little bit of knowledge on this, because it's clearly a mental illness issue. But it's an issue that what causes the mental illness, and it has to be demonic forces, man. It has to be. Why would you want to kill children? Why would you want to kill anybody? I know there's situations and reasons that you may need to take action on somebody if they're trying to harm you or your family, but these people haven't done anything to you. But these demonic forces in these people's minds, in my opinion, the portal has to have been open when they were given these medications and treatments, and that were totally unnecessary. Um, I'm going to do a little bit more research. So hopefully one day in the future I could do a bigger deep dive into that conversation. I'm going to end this with probably about a 3 or 4 minute take on one more thing that I saw yesterday. So I'm watching Harmony. If you don't know what Harmony is, the journalist Jason Whitlock, he has two podcasts. He has through the Blaze Network. One is called Fearless, and they mainly talk about sports and politics. The other one is Harmony, where he talks about anything from music to news of the day. And yesterday, he and his guests discussed Candace Owens and Erica Kirk. And Candace Owens has put out um, a trailer that is really concerning. Now, listen, I'm not on either side of the discussion. I do support TPUSA fully. Let's just get that out there. I am a supporter of TPUSA, Turning Point USA, and the legacy of Charlie Kirk. I do support that. But what Candace has put out in this trailer, and I think Jason Whitlock said it the best. When people put out this type of content, it's mainly after a situation. Individuals have been charged, had their day in court, and either been exonerated or convicted. This guy who killed her husband, who killed Charlie Kirk, they've been putting this crap off for for the longest. I don't even think they had the preliminary hearing. To my knowledge, they have not. And I think it was supposed to be scheduled for a couple days past. Anyway, she put this material out, and from what I got away from it, I got out of it anyway, is that breadcrumbs have been left. And if you trace the breadcrumbs, she's saying that Erica Kirk mastermind this whole thing, from winning some kind of beauty pageant to being involved with a lot of high profile people using her beauty, and she is beautiful, that's a beautiful woman, using her beauty and influence to get into some of these circles, some very dangerous circles, some, and I guess in some people's view, some very inappropriate circles, and sliding into TPUSA with Charlie Kirk, married him, having his kids, and he's assassinated, and she has taken over TPUSA. That's disturbing, y'all. Even if it's not real, putting this piece together and putting it on in a trailer and putting it out on social media, it's dangerous. I think a couple of guys that were on the show, on Harmony Show, said it best. It gets you to thinking, because this woman who just lost her husband got little bitty babies, and a woman's instinct is to be, okay, my husband's dead. I now have to I have to concentrate on my family, my babies, and raising them right. And she's taken over a multi-billion-dollar religious and political organization. Something to think about. Something to think about. Whether it's right or wrong, and like I said, I'm not on anybody's side. It needs to be discussed. This is a conversation that needs to be had. And listening to a woman's perspective, it's in a woman's nature, after losing her husband in a vicious way like that, is to grab your babies, hold them tight, and say, I'm not gonna leave you. I'm gonna be with you every day. According to Candace and some of these other individuals, her number one instinct was to, and listen, it was on the trailer. Go watch the trailer if you don't believe nothing I'm saying. She recreated the tent that was in Utah or wherever he was when he was shot and killed. And she's like throwing hats, and in other words, she was celebrating. And I heard her say in the trailer, everybody mourns differently. That was her way of mourning. I don't know. I don't know. It's something to talk about, y'all. Strange encounters. But listen, I'm gonna get on up out of here, man. Just a few things I want to touch on. Just to do your research. Give me a little bit of feedback. How do you think these demonic forces are entering the minds and the bodies of people, and not just people in general, but especially these people who have had their minds and their bodies transitioned, who have been brainwashed, and so they could recreate their identity. Give me do a deep dive and give me some feedback. And as the days go along, it's gonna be plenty to talk about with the Candace Owens and Erica Kirk situation. So give me your feedback on that. But as of right now, guys, I appreciate you and I love you. You guys stay blessed. And as always, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, you guys stay blessed, and I love you, and I'll catch you next time.